dying strong out there in the streets every single day. I got you. Yeah.
I will defend my brothers. I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite. Bring it on. It's time to fight. As that alarm clock beeps and wakes you from your sleep, pull back the sheets. It's time to hit the streets. Dudes, fresh shave your face. Girls, put up your hair. Back breaking and aching from the equipment that you wear. Face to face with your locker, strapping on your vest. Pray to God it'll block a hollow point from your chest. Join up with the squad, that's the crew of the night. Here again, our evil man took another life. Got a price on your head, brother, better beware. Load up that Glock and prepare yourself for warfare. Spread trips to the concrete in this dead heat. Load up that Crown Vic and get back up on the beat. Ridicules what you get, not even a damn handshake. As the sun sets on that city landscape, nothing can stop you, snow, rain, or thunder. Gotta hold that blue line tight, you're the wolf hunter. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. No words can express the lack of respect. No arrest of a suspect's unchecked. They say you ain't shit and you always tell lies. It's so quick to pick up and call when victimized. Riots and protests, it's always us they blame. It's expected, not regretted when a hero cop is slain. Never freeze up in fear when everyone's stomachs in knots. Who else you know running towards the gunshots? You know you're not alone. Take a look around. Look past the hate that you feel surrounds your town. The civil unrest, it needs to be addressed. So obsessed with judgment in the form of protest. So quick to judge and point fingers and blame. Over rifles and knives, and yet we can't take aim. In the streets and the chairs, they can't be muted. We're on the marches when a hero cop is executed, huh? I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. Every push-ups for justice, each sit-ups for peace. Yet prepared for that battle waging up in the streets. Push the memories aside, keep the hate out of sight. Always on prowl for evil that lurks within the night. They said God made shepherds so that he could protect the flock. To overwatch and keep track of those that he's lost. When evil brings the fight, you know it's outnumbered. Sink your teeth in his back. You're the wolf hunter. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to
Man, you know what? I was so hyped up with the song. Se me olvidó put us all on camera again.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Leo, bienvenido una vez más. Thank you once again, man. We're honored to have you on the show with us, brother.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure for me as well. You know, y muchas gracias por tenerme de nuevo.
No, I don't know if you've ever heard this song before. No, I don't know if you could hear it because I forgot to bring you on. But it's called Sheepdog. And Bobby, I just found out that it's a cop band out of San Diego Sheriffs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why the song is called Sheepdog, and it talks about us being sheepdog, protecting the sheep, being out in the field. And I bought 2 of their albums, and all their songs are all about PTSD, cops, heroes. It's called Forensic, and I'll put it up right now in a little while. But guys, before we get started, talk about what we're drinking, smoking, etc. Let's welcome everybody that's watching our show. We got our sister all the way from Riverside. Has been with us from the very beginning. Saludos, everyone. Puro pa adelante. A huevo. Cierto. We got legend, man. California Department of Corrections, prison guard, legend. Pelican Bay did over 15, 18 years there. The guy's a legend. Dim Janis watching us right now live, all the way from Thailand. We got Fidel Santillan. Fidel, I'm going to put up my email right now in a little while. Please email me. We would love to have you on our show. I believe you did many years. I believe you were ICE there in San Diego. So we want you on, Fidel. So I'll put my email up. Mándame un recado. We'll sit down and we'll talk, man. We'd love to have you on. We got VP 760. Saludos, everyone. Enjoying a nice rum and coke. Right on. We'll tell you what we're drinking right now. And we have our chaplain. We have, I don't know, Leo, last time you weren't here, we didn't have an honorary chaplain, but now we do. Ruben Nava is a legend with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. He retired as a detective sergeant, worked major narcotics, street gangs, prison gangs. And when he retired, Leo, he went back to the East LA station where he started his career, went back as a chaplain. So now after doing 30 plus years, now he's a volunteer chaplain. What do you think about that, Leo? Huh?
That's really awesome because, you know, you have to find a way to give back to the community in some way. And that's just really awesome. You know, it
is. You know what? The guy's my hero without a doubt. And we got Benny. Benny, I just told you right now, brother, I know you're listening. Forensic, the band that you put the Sheepdog, they're from your old department. So you and I are going to reach out. We're going to have them on our show. Great song. We got San Diego PD, legendary robbery and gang detective, Christopher Kilby, saying he's 97. We got Big Joe watching us all the way from Salinas. I believe you're a captain or a lieutenant with the Department of Corrections, but Big Joe, you're always with us. Mil gracias. You're going to really enjoy tonight's show. And we got one of our originals, OGs, man, has been watching us from the very beginning. He's always at work, working. He's drinking his cold water at the ports in Long Beach. Mil gracias. And we got our brother, man, Cocaine Cowboys Uncensored, Chris Hastings, watching us live right now from the Philippines. Man, brothers, we got some good people. We got some normal people. And we got Gordo Gordito. Gordo Gordito's going to be retiring. Listen to this one, Leo. He's going to be retiring of over 25 years of service with the Chicago Police Department. He's retiring next Friday after 25 years.
That's great. So, congratulations, Gordito.
Exactamente. Está bien flaco. I don't know why he has Gordo Gordito, pero está flaco.
Así somos los mexicanos. We call them the opposite of what they really are.
Exactly. Yes. Actually, he's a pretty buff guy. He boxes a lot. He's gonna open up a boxing gym when he retires. Another one that's getting back. J Cool 2289. Looking forward to tonight's episode. Thank you, brother, for watching us once again. Killer music, yeah, brother. Especially now that we know that they're law enforcement, that is completely awesome. We got Vicente. Good. Please, I'm gonna put it up right now. And let me see. Last night we had a skip. We had so many people logging on last night. Voces con Ana Paulina. Saludos. I love to see Leo here. Is it a relative? Ana Paulina. La voz de Ana Paulina, Benny, and Gordo Gordito. All right, here we go. All right, with that said, Bobby, we'll start off with you. What are you drinking? What are you smoking, my brother?
My last dry week. I'll start drinking next week. I'm just drinking my regular black coffee. Me siento castigado. De verdad. Me siento castigado. I haven't had anything to drink so I think January. So, and I was just smoking the Ceniza Fina, the signature cigar for Fine Ash Cigars here in Glendale. And it's their, it's a good smoke. It's a Corojo, Ecuadorian Corojo. It has some Mexican tobacco in there. And I love this smoke. It's a small batch. It has kind of like that earthy, I get a little bit of that espresso. On the retrohale, I could get that little bit of that coffee taste to it.
And Bobby, they don't sell it nationwide, right? It's only sold there at your special cigar bar.
I think it's here. I think I've seen. Well, this is a cigar that the LA Dodgers were smoking when they won the World Series in the locker room.
Wow!
I don't know how it got over there. I know Sam, the owner of the bar, knows. He has some connections. A lot of spring training is going on right now. Ball players are going in there, so he knows a lot of the bait. And somehow he got a couple of boxes of this Ceniza Fina, Fine Ash cigars in the locker room, and the Dodgers were smoking this.
Well, you know what? I'm going to look it up. Ceniza Fina, see if I can find it. Maybe give me a box or something. Leo, I know you don't drink anymore. No tomas consejos. But what are you drinking? I saw you drinking. Is it a soda? What is it? An energy drink?
This is a black coffee. It's a Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee in my Reign of Terror, coffee cup here.
Wow. Hey, can we buy those coffee cups? Is there a place to buy them?
We're working on getting those out for sale. Right now we have coffee cups at edgeweaver.com. So yeah, if anybody is interested in that, edgeweaver.com, they have them for sale.
EDGE Weaver, WEAVER.com.
Correct.
Okay, and that's your coffee cups like that, right? But they're coffee
This
cups.
was a Christmas present, so.
Is it? Okay. Well, you know what?
Getting some of these out.
Next time you come on, I'm gonna have one. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put it up right now. So whoever wants to order one, I am gonna order one. So next time, I'll toast to you with your
Awesome.
coffee cup.
That'd be great.
That's a great emblem. With that said, you know what? I'm drinking. Benny's always laughing because he says I live in Costco, and you know what? I actually do. My wife tells me I need coffee, I'll go to Costco. My wife tells me I need milk, I'll go to Costco. I love going to Costco. And you know what? I just bought this. It's called Templeton Rye. It's actually finished in tequila casks, in tequila barrels. I haven't tasted it yet, but you know what? Before we do, I want to do something special right now before we get into the show. This past week, we lost a legend. I mean, especially you, Leo, with your first book here. I knew that this right here, legend, would definitely mirror what you're doing with your first book. I believe he wrote 25 books. Out of the 25 books, I believe 17 were nonfiction, and the rest were the 7, I believe, or 8 were fiction. One of the first book that I read from Los Angeles police detective, retired detective, Sergeant Joseph Wambach, was Lines and Shadows, where he talked about the San Diego Police Department, the BARF unit, the anti-robbery unit in the hills of San Diego. That was one of the books that I read, The Centurion. I have all his books here. And when I found out about his death, I mean, it really hurt me. But you know what's really interesting about this man right here, Leo? About 2 years ago, I interviewed him. I used to have a show called Sheepdog Assist, and I actually interviewed him on my show. And he couldn't use a computer because I believe he was like 81, 82. For whatever reason, his assistant wasn't there at the time. But we put him on the phone. It was me and Pete Bollinger. And as we're talking to him, one of the first words that he told me, believe it or not, was, "David, do you know who I am?" First of all, he asked, "How old are you?" And then back then I'm 65 now. So 2 years ago, I was 63. I go, 63. He goes, "Do you know who I am?" I go, "Of course." I go, "I read your first book back in 85 when I was working Department of Corrections." And then we were talking about his books. And this is a funny thing, Leo, that he said. He goes, "Do you think people still remember me?" Wow. Those were his words. "Do you think people still remember me?" I go, "Mr. Wambach." I mean, I wasn't going to call him Joseph. I just met the man. We're on the phone. I go, "Mr. Wambach." I go, "People, man, they adore you." He goes, "You think cops remember me?" And I mean, it was just very interesting to hear a man like this. I mean, the man is a legend. Started with LAPD 1961, left LAPD, I believe, in 1974, started writing full time. I mean, this man is a legend. Moved to San Diego, had several houses there, and he just passed away. May he rest in peace. And guys, with that said, an honor toast in honor of Lieutenant, former LAPD Detective Sergeant Joseph Wambach. Rest in paradise, my brother, and we will never forget you. Salud. But Leo, can you believe that? I mean, those were the words out of his mouth. Do people still remember me?
Yeah, well, you guys know once we retire,
yeah,
we kind of fade away into the background. But some of us still try to keep our thumbs on the pulse of what's going on. So that's what we try to do. But you always think about that. Hey, does anybody remember what we did over there? So,
exactly. Yeah. But oh man, it was an honor to interview him. As a matter of fact, I'm going to post up the interview probably next week. I still have it, so we could put it on our channel. With that said, Bobby, it's all yours, brother.
All right. Well, I want to thank all our viewers for checking in. Plenty of loyal viewers here, and we wanted to take occasion to talk about the big week we had last. Any of us that worked, that were cops, especially those who work narcotics, and who worked the Mexican drug traffickers. Last week was a big day for all of us, huge day. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce Leo. Maybe we'll have Victor Avila come in. I talked to him. He mentioned he's going to be running late if he can get in. But I want to introduce Leo. Leo's been here before. Leo's a retired DEA supervisor. I met Leo in Monterrey when I was working out at the U.S. consulate there. And Leo was he was a supervisor agent in charge. And he's did 28 years with DEA and worked quite a few years in Guadalajara, worked down in the Rio Grande Valley, and is from the Rio Grande Valley, a true Tejano. And one other thing I knew about Leo, I got into Tejano music years ago, and I was amazed. He knew all these guys. He played with them because Leo also is a musician, and he can sing. I've heard him sing. So anyway, I want to welcome Leo, and want to welcome you and introduce you to our audience here. And what I wanted to do initially is talk a little bit about finally Rafael Caro Quintero was handed over after years and years of interference from the Mexican government. I was really worried that they were going to release him again. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think this means for the relationship between our country and their country?
First of all, I'm glad to be back on the show, guys. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you, brother.
And you know what? This news, the Rafael Caro Quintero, it's not an extradition, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. You know, he's here in the U.S. and after 40 years, he's going to finally face U.S. justice for Agent Camarena's death. And it's a huge victory, not only for DEA, but for every agent across the board that participated in this case and in the efforts to bring him back.
Yes. To me, it was like I felt it was kind of a desperate move by the Mexican government to try to stop these tariffs that are hit. They've already hit them, but to me, these guys are people that have been locked up for a long time. I mean, they're like, you know, it'd be nice if we could start seeing them being more aggressive and going after the new generation of traficantes, of capos that are running around Mexico, because there's still a lot of violence. And obviously the supply of drugs still continues to pour across our border.
Correct. But you know what? This kind of sends a message, you know, to all these young traficantes that are out there, you know, hey, your time is going to come sooner or later, even if it's 40 years from now, you know, just like it was with Caro Quintero. We waited 40 years for him to come to the U.S. He's now in a courtroom, and he was in a courtroom in New York City, and he's in a New York City jail right now. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's going to happen eventually. And for all these young traficantes out there, you know, it's an unsustainable life.
Right.
You're going to have your riches for a little while, but it's not going to last forever. You're either going to be dead or you're going to be in jail in Mexico or over here. But it's going to happen. So, I mean, I think it sends a very powerful message, powerful message to all the traficantes out there.
And you know, Leo, one of the things that I wanted to talk about real quick, this young man right here, that's Kiki Camarena's son. And he's actually a Superior Court judge, I believe, in Chula Vista in San Diego. When I left 10 years ago, he was in Chula Vista. I believe he's still there. And he always held his dad's cuffs for that moment when Caro Quintero was going to be extradited to the United States. This is what I have heard. I have not talked to him, but what I've read in the paper, and I've read a lot of text messages from different DEA guys and law enforcement, that they actually came to San Diego to pick up the handcuffs. And when Caro Quintero got off the plane, they put Kiki's handcuffs on him. I don't know if that's true. I mean, a lot of people have been showing them, but if it is, which I believe it is true, I mean, the irony behind that. I mean, his son now, I believe, was like 7 or 8 years old when Kiki was murdered, and now is Superior Court judge, held the cuffs for all these years, 40 years, and now they were placed on Caro Quintero. Your thoughts?
I think it was an awesome story. The way I understood it is when they were it was confirmed that he was here in the U.S. They made the effort to pick up the handcuffs from Camarena Jr. and take him to New York City, so that when he made his first court appearance, Enrique Camarena's handcuffs were going to go on Rafael Caro Quintero, so he could make his first court appearance. And they let him know, these are Enrique Camarena's handcuffs that are going on your hands right now. So he knew it, and they took him to the courtroom with those handcuffs. And it was an amazing story. You know, it's still hard for us guys to process that. You know, it's such a victory for everybody, and it brings hopefully a sense of closure also to the family. You know, there will never be closure, but this just makes it a little better, you know, knowing that he is here and he's going to face justice. He didn't get away, you know, with this heinous crime.
And like you said earlier, you mentioned that, was it an extradition? What exactly was it? And I don't think it's been defined, but you could talk about it right now. But before you do, one of the things that I've been reading about is, because it wasn't an official, it was or not, extradition, they can basically charge him with a death penalty, and it looks like they will be charging him, and it looks like we'll talk right now about the Zetas, the Trevino brothers, but there's 5 out of the 29 that they will be charging with the death penalty. Can you talk? I mean, this is historical, like Bobby said. I mean, it's never been done like this. 29 capos, 29, I mean, leaders or just heavy hitters for the cartels, all in one hit. Can you talk about the death penalty?
Well, it's my understanding that the death penalty is going to be applied to some of these people. Whether it actually happens or not is something else. And yes, it is not being considered a formal extradition, because the paperwork was not put in. And you know, it doesn't matter. To us, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, they're here now. And whatever you want to call it, an expulsion, it's okay. They're here now, and they're going to face American justice. And you know, if they're facing the death penalty, so be it. You know, that's what the penalty calls for, and you know, they got to face it. Whether they get it or not is something else. They might end up getting a plea deal and getting life in prison, which is just as well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. And at least to me, anyway. Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
You know,
yeah, for a year.
But if you want to really get down to it, it was not a formal extradition. It was an agreement between Mexico and the United States, and they put them on a plane. And they brought all 29 of them over here. When this started early that morning, it was my understanding that there was going to be 3 brought, and then the number kept going up until it got to the 29. So, you know, when I heard that it was going to be 29, I said, "Wow, this is totally incredible." Like you say, it's never been done before, ever in the history of Mexico and the United States.
I was thinking they're going to throw General Cifuentes back on the airplane instead of over here again. Yeah, it was amazing, because when I think about 40 years, I was when Kiki Camarena was kidnapped. Obviously, you know, I think most of our viewers here know the story of Kiki Camarena, but when he was kidnapped, you know, tortured and killed, it was 85. I was a young walking beat cop in the city housing projects, uniform cop here in Phoenix, 2 months away from going to a temporary assignment in narcotics. And I remember going to narcotics. I went there full time in 87. And when I got there in 87, I was introduced to Delbert Salazar, who was my mentor for the DEA side. And later he got swooped away and was out doing Leyenda, part of the Leyenda investigation. And that was 40 years ago. And I just can't believe how much time has gone by. Next week, I'll be retired from Phoenix PD, 20 years. Wow. Now, I did 10 years overseas in contracting work, still working contracts, but it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And like I said, I am totally in agreement with you. I don't care how he got here, all of them got here. Like los entregaron. It wasn't an extradition because the paperwork wasn't done. It was like, get the hell out of here and here you go. So that to me is important, so that these people will constantly have to be looking, the new generation looking over their shoulder, wondering when are they going to come looking for me.
Right. And I love that message, because that's something that needs to be sent out to them. Because right now, as you know, Mexico is in turmoil. There's violence going on in Sinaloa, in Nuevo León, in Jalisco, all over the nation. And it seems that these guys are operating with impunity. And now there's a sense that, hey, well, we're not just going to be able to get away with whatever we do. So I love the message that it sends. Hopefully it will resound within these new traffickers that are up and coming. And I'm still trying to process, everything, because it's just such a victory,
Yeah. Everybody, I think people in this business, people that follow this type of criminal activity in this work, we all knew about Rafael Caro Quintero, but when I saw the two names that were also on that list, I thought, damn, they really unloaded some of these guys, because Miguel Ángel Treviño Morales and Omar Treviño Morales also got sent here, and that's right down your sweet spot. Those are characters that were obviously very active in the area that you worked. I was down there when they arrested Omar Treviño. I was living in what was it called, Colonia del Valle, and he was arrested probably 6 blocks or so away from me. The morning that he was arrested, I heard the helicopters. They warned everybody to stay indoors when the army was making the arrest, and we could hear all the ruckus and sirens and loudspeakers, and he was right in the neighborhood that the diplomatic community was living in there in Monterrey, in San Pedro Garcia. So you want to hit on that? Zeta 42 and Zeta 40. Explain who they are to our viewers.
Well, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how come you don't talk about the Sinaloa Cartel, or how come you don't talk about Chapo Guzman? And I'll explain that, and I've had that question so many times when I'm talking about my book, or when I'm interviewed in other interviews. And it's the response is very simple, because Sinaloa was not our area of responsibility. My area of responsibility was in Monterrey, the state of Nuevo León, Coahuila, and San Luis Potosí, not Sinaloa. We have an office over there. So it was not my responsibility. That was somebody else's, so that's why the book is not about Chapo Guzman or anything. So people ask me, well, what inspired you to write this book? And one of the things that inspired me is that everybody talks about El Chapo Guzman and the Sinaloa Cartel and Mayo Zambada and this and that, right? But they've never heard of these guys. I mean, there's very few people that are familiar with who Miguel Treviño is, and Omar Treviño Morales, or Heriberto Lascano. So it's one of the reasons I wrote this book, because not too many people know who they are. And as I said in the book, in one of the first chapters, Miguel Treviño was one of the most violent killers that I've ever come across. And, I've read a lot of stories about Charles Manson, and everybody says, Charles Manson is this monster. Charles Manson is in kindergarten compared to this guy. I put that on paper in this book, and it's the truth. I mean, this guy, there's no way to describe the level of evil that this guy possessed. So I want people to know who this guy is. I want people to know that these people exist, and they existed for a long time, and he was very close to getting away and being released from prison if it weren't for this expulsion into the United States, which happened last week. So I think the country of Mexico is very lucky that he is over here and in a U.S. prison, because if he would have stayed there a little longer, I think he would have been released and gone back to doing what he was doing.
Hey, Leo, was he going to be released the same way by that one judge where they said that he had done his 30 plus years for Caro Quintero? Was that the same process that they were basically going to do with him? Was a judge going to release him like that?
No.
He served his time?
But what he was doing is threatening the judge. The judges, and saying, if you don't let me go, you'll never see your family again, because I'm going to kill your wife, your kids, your entire family if you don't let me go. So that was his process of getting out. There was no legal process. His process was threats on the judge's family. And I believe it was several judges that he threatened. And that's why this process was moving pretty quickly. And he was on the verge of being released very soon, if it weren't for this.
How different was he from his brother Omar?
Well, there's hardly anyone you can compare Miguel Trevino with. Miguel Trevino is in a league all his own.
Mm-hmm.
His brother, yes, he was violent as well, but there's nobody that can measure up to Miguel Trevino. There's on the level when it comes to violence and fear and intimidation. I've interviewed people that met him in person, and he's just his aura sent shivers down people's spine. I mean, I'm not talking about hardened criminals that don't get scared easily, and when they were in his presence, they just felt this overwhelming sense of fear.
Just evil.
That's the kind of fear that this guy generated. So there's no one really that I know of that you can compare this guy to. So his brother, yes. I mean, you can't operate in this business without some level of violence, but there's nothing that compares to Miguel Trevino.
And is he going to be tried in New York? Do you know if he's going to be tried in New York? Is he one of them?
No, he's in Washington, D.C., and I believe there's an indictment up there, and he's going to be facing charges there. I believe he already made his initial appearance in court a couple of days ago, so that's where he's facing charges. And I believe he's indicted in other parts, in other states. I know for sure he's indicted in Texas. He's facing charges all over the United States.
Leo, do you believe that you're going to be called as a witness, as a expert on the Zetas cartel in this case?
It remains to be seen, but I'd be glad to go and do my part and do whatever it takes to make sure this guy doesn't get out.
I want to jump in. One of the things that when I was in Mexico, we were working with the correction system. There was a guy that was with Merida who came from Mexico City. So we drove down to there. And Leo, you know this, that there's areas in Mexico that when you go north into Tamaulipas, Avila, there's areas we're not allowed to go. We would have to drive to Nuevo Laredo, cross in Laredo, and then take the U.S. border along the Texas border to, I think we went to Eagle Pass, because going straight to those areas was off limits to us. So we went to the prison. I'm trying to think the prison. It was a prison that the Zetas built. They built they built the prison, and then they built their own wing, and they had a bar there. So we went in there, looked, and they showed us where they had like a stage for pole dancing for the strippers that were bringing in. It's crazy. They had I remember there was video way back in the day where they needed personnel, and the Zetas went in there and just with rifles, the guards didn't even stop them. Hey, who wants to go fight with us? And they loaded them into a school bus and just took off with them. And some of these guys would leave the complex, come back. But it was just, they had that much control. And I remember talking to some of the police, that we were dealing with. And I think at the time they had fired all the state police there in Tamaulipas. And they said they fired them because they were known as los estatales instead of los estatales, because they controlled that area with an iron fist. I know you didn't have Tamaulipas, but I'm sure you heard some of these accounts being there in Monterrey.
Well, basically they have their people in prison that control those prisons. And yeah. We had it in Topo Chico in Monterrey, so I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, these guys run the prison like a city, like a different city, so yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that was going on. It goes on in practically almost every prison in Mexico where you have a high level cartel member that's incarcerated.
Hey, Leo, can you share with us Vicente Carrillo Fuentes? I have a picture of him now. Does not look at all like the pictures that is wanted. Did you ever work that cartel also, being in that area? And can you share a little bit about to our viewers of who he was?
Yeah, Vicente Carrillo Fuentes was obviously the brother of El Señor de los Cielos, Amado Carrillo Fuentes, but he was working in the area of Ciudad Juárez, and which was, again, we have an office over there, and they were in charge of that investigation. And our focus was primarily on the Gulf Cartel and the Zetas. So yes, we knew of him, we knew his reputation, but he was not part of our area. He didn't factor in where we were investigating our targets, if you will. So, you know, that's the way it is with us. You know, we compartmentalize the investigations, and our office in Juarez was well equipped to handle that. So they're more familiar about that than I was at the time.
Hey, Leo, during your time, did the Zetas have any liaisons like with Sinaloa or liaisons with El Cartel del Golfo during that time? Did they have, or were they at war with everybody?
They were at war with the Cartel del Golfo. I mean, they were at first, they were together. They were one. Because the Zetas were the armed security wing of the Gulf Cartel for Ociel Cárdenas Guillén. Then they started gaining more power, and they said they figured on their own that they could be independent. So they went independent. They went solo, and they formed their own organization. And at that time, they were gaining more power than the Gulf Cartel. And they made an alliance with Arturo Beltrán Leiva, who was one of their allies. And did they have their enemies? Sure. They wanted to kill El Chapo Guzman. I mean, they were arch enemies. So yeah, Sinaloa and the Zetas and the Gulf Cartel just did not mix. So they were at each other's throats. So in the book, you can see where I talk about how Trevino was being chased by not only DEA and FBI and every American agency, and you had SEMAR, you had Sedena and federal police, but also the Sinaloa Cartel wanted to kill him. So you had all these other folks and the Gulf Cartel wanting to kill him. So he was being chased by all these people. And you know, the final chapter in my book is called Nowhere to Run, because basically he ran out of places to run because everybody was after him.
You want to go into how he was captured?
Well, at the time, we were kind of scaling down our investigation on him. And at the time, we had the U.S. Marshals come in and assist us with the investigation. And we pretty much let them run with it because, believe it or not, we had something else that became a priority for us. One of our close allies in Monterrey was kidnapped and tortured and killed, and we started focusing on that investigation, and let the U.S. Marshals run with what was a Trevino investigation. And pretty much, like I say, at this point, it was just a matter of time, and we knew, and we wanted to focus our efforts on what had just happened, and so we kind of let the Marshals run, and they're the ones that were able to track him down, and with the help of SEMAR, and successfully capture him. And we all thought in Mexico that it was going to be a gunfight, a battle to the end, you know, to the death. But it wasn't that way. He gave up peacefully. He did try to bribe the SEMAR officials, which I believe was a duffel bag with $2 million to let him go. But obviously they didn't take it, and he's now in custody, and now he's in the U.S. in Washington, D.C. But yes, at the time, we were scaling down our efforts on him, and we focused more on this other investigation, which the person that was involved in that murder of our close ally is one of the 29 that was brought over to the United States. So that's another person that we're happy is being brought to justice here in the United States. So,
Leo, was he caught in the city or was he caught in the hills? Because I remember reading your book. You're talking. I remember there was one individual that was caught up in the hills, and he was basically alone, and he was running. Was he the one? I mean, like when your first book first came out, I read it. I have not picked it up since. But was he the one that was picked up at the hills? In the hills?
He was caught in the outskirts of Monterrey, and at the time, since he was running from everybody on the planet,
Yeah.
he was sleeping on the ground in these desolate ranches.
Yes,
in rural areas. So
Uh-huh.
so he couldn't go rent a hotel room and sleep in a hotel room because everybody's looking for him.
Yeah.
And there's a $5 million price on his head. So he was sleeping in these ranches on the floor, on the ground, you know, with, like I described in the book, with the ants and the
Yes. Uh-huh.
and the mosquitoes and everything. So
Uh-huh.
so he wasn't living a very comfortable life, you know. So yes, he just ran out of places to run, and that's the way he was living up until he got caught by the SEMAR and the U.S. Marshals.
Can you imagine? You got these guys, these drug lords, that eventually they get to that point when they're on the run. They're no longer living like some top dog. They're living like some, un tipo común, a criminal that's just on the run, going from house to house. And these guys, from one rancho to another, literally all this money that they made, all this power, all this influence, they literally are like Saddam Hussein, hiding in a hole in the ground. And,
Exactly.
that's exactly what happened to these guys.
Right, and that's part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Try to cut off all their lines of communication, their finances, until they get to that point, and then it's just a matter of time. You know, so I remember him telling one of our sources that he made the quote, a minute for me, a minute for you is like an hour for me. He says, because I know my time is limited, and an hour for you is like, 24 hours for me. So that was his mentality, his ability to hide and go pay people off and stay in these really nice places was gone. So until it got to that level, and that's what facilitated our efforts in capturing him.
And Leo, once he was captured, did you interview him?
He was taken immediately to Mexico City, where one of our agents in Mexico City was able to interview him at the time, and he did not say anything. He just pretty much told us to pound sand. So, and these guys at that level, they never say nothing, So, and it was something that we expected, but we got to go through the motions and go do it, But he told us basically to pound sand, and here we are now today, and we'll see where that goes now.
We'll see where that sand goes. Tell us about the arrest of Omar Trevino Morales, his brother.
Okay, so at the time, I was getting close to my retirement date, and we had the intelligence that he was living in a community that's highly affluent in not only Monterrey, but all of Mexico and most of Latin America, a place called San Pedro Garza Garcia. And we got information that he was living there. And we got information that he was actually walking around freely in the mall. And we actually had some photographs of him. So we knew we were very close. Unfortunately for me, my retirement date came up, and I was not there for the operation.
Wow.
But I was still happy to see that it went through and it was successful. But we knew we were close, and unfortunately I wasn't there to see it, but it was still a good thing. It's still a victory for DEA. We're all team players, and that's just the way it goes. And I'm just happy that it happened, and I'm happy that he's in the United States now.
Hey, Leo, how many days after days or weeks or months after you retired was he captured?
I think it was pretty much a month after I retired. So.
Wow. But if you wouldn't have retired, you probably would have been there. You probably would have been with the team, right?
I think I would have been right there, man. So,
right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Bobby Spencer.
No problem. I was going to say he was probably shopping at the same HEB we were shopping at and pounding beers at least close by there in Centrito. What I was going to say, I think you're mentioning that. I remember when I retired from the PD, I was working a wiretap group, and I knew, you start doing a workup 6 months, 8 months, sometimes ahead, even a year. And right when I retired, I'm over in Bosnia, already doing my contracting work. And I remember I'd get up in the morning, their time, 8 hours, and I'd look at the news, and Phoenix, local Phoenix Police and other local law enforcement agencies did a mass roundup, 30 search warrants in one morning. I knew what it was, and it was tugging at my heart because I was like, I knew what case they were doing. It was a handover that I was a part of, but I left. So I know the feeling you feel.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there.
It's not the first time that happened to me. When I was in Guadalajara, there was a trafficker by the name of Aro Herrera Garcia, and I started that case in Guadalajara from the beginning, and it was my time to transfer out of Guadalajara, and I left. I got promoted to supervisor in McAllen, Texas, and when I got to McAllen, maybe a couple of months after I got here, our office was able to apprehend Aro Herrera Garcia, and I wasn't there for that either. But that's just the way it goes, man. And in the end, we're a team. DEA is a team, and it's a good thing. And that was our goal, and it was achieved. And whether it was me or somebody else, that's just the way it goes.
I don't
it's
care.
a win for DEA, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how chingon you think you are as a cop investigator. When we retire, nothing stops. It just somebody else fills in, and the next generation of investigators continue. What I wanted to hit on, moving forward with Mexico, where do you think we're at now? I know when you were there, you guys, your team, you mentioned it in the book, you were able to carve out a niche where the government of Mexico gave you the group of La Marina. I know you guys, even before I got there, I got briefed. You guys are doing some outstanding work with La Marina, and you had some good contacts. You were able to work, but once López Obrador came into power, that stopped. The cooperation stopped. I'm thinking too that part of this, the tariffs and all the other posturing that's going on right now, is part of a diplomatic way of getting Mexico to come to the table, the government of Mexico, and say, okay, because obviously, there's a lot of good guys on the ground over there, but if there's not cooperation, there's very little you can do.
Right, and I was lucky to get in at that time where the cooperation was just outstanding. But it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was something that happened over the course of many years to get to that level. Once we got to that level, well, we had to exploit it. It's like we say, strike it while the iron's hot. So that's what we did. And now with López Obrador, that just went away, like you say. And it's going to be hard to restore that level of cooperation. It's going to take a lot of work to get back to that level. And I really hope to see that sometime soon. But, it took a lot of work to get there, and now it's all gone. So it's going to take work to get it back, So, and I hope it's sooner rather than later. Yeah, because
Claudia Sheinbaum is pretty much the same thing as López Obrador. They're from the same political party. I'm hopeful. Also, we need good cooperation with our country and their country, no matter what the corruption is that we see down there. We all know that the Mexican government specifically targeted only certain cartels, and for years allowed Sinaloa to grow. If you look at any of the operations, they kind of left Sinaloa alone, and everybody else was getting slammed. And hopefully there'll be a new day with some diplomatic success that can happen between our government and theirs.
Well, that's the hope. That's what we want to do. And like I say, it's going to take some work, and hopefully these two administrations can work together so we can get back to that level.
Yeah.
There's no way that we can accomplish these goals without cooperation. I mean, there's just no way. There's no way DEA can take the credit for, taking down these cartels, because we need the cooperation of the Mexican government. We can't operate in Mexico without them. So
absolutely,
that's the way it goes.
Hey, Leo, changing notes a little bit. The Trevino brothers, they're at one of the MCCs, whether it's Washington, D.C., Baltimore, they're at one of the MCCs. Do you believe that the prison guards, the correctional officers, are being trained? I know that they've had hundreds and thousands of inmates, but these two brothers, especially in Zeta 40, I mean, this guy, he is, the way you describe him in the book, the way you describe him, this guy's an Hannibal Lecter. You know, he's very intelligent. He's manipulative. Do you think that the correctional officers working these facilities know who they're working with and should be alerted? And I highly recommend that they read your book. Do you think that they're being trained specifically for these 29 cartel members that were just extradited?
Well, I can tell you this. I know that they're in the custody of the U.S. Marshals, and the U.S. Marshals are responsible for where they are being kept and how they're handled. So I have no doubts that the U.S. Marshals have briefed all those correctional officials, from the warden all the way down to whoever. I mean, about these people, because you know, I don't think anybody really realizes just how dangerous these guys are.
Yeah.
Now, would they try to do something in the United States? Maybe not to escape, because that's just pretty much impossible, but they might try to harm somebody, you know, just to do it, you know, just to show some spite or whatever. You don't know what's going on in these guys' brains. And all I know is that they are to be handled with extreme caution, because they are highly dangerous. And I'll tell you what, Hannibal Lecter is maybe in fifth grade compared to Miguel Trevino.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely had a body count, an unbelievable body count. And a lot of the stuff that we would see, this is like what happened. We used to joke, even before I got to Mexico, we used to joke and say, I think that some moderate Al-Qaeda members see the violence going on in Mexico and are outraged by the senseless killings that are happening, because it was like, damn, they're doing that, you know, peeling people's faces off and just all the usual business that they do down there. Sadistic,
Well,
totally sadistic.
I'll throw out some examples. I mean, there was a whole town that was practically erased on the orders of Miguel Trevino, the town of Allende. And I get asked this question a lot, is how come you didn't write anything about Allende in your book? Because we didn't investigate it, because when this massacre happened in the town of Allende, Coahuila, on the orders of Miguel Trevino, and the Zetas went in there and wiped out, I think it's over 300 people. It could be even up to 500. Okay. At the time that happened, the Jaime Zapata incident with Victor Avila had taken place in San Luis Potosí, and every single agency in Mexico was focused on that. I didn't find out about Allende until way after it happened, because we were so focused on getting the people responsible for Jaime Zapata's murder. And so when I'm asked that question, that's my response. I mean, we were focused on something else. I didn't even know about it until way after it happened. So, you know, and it's an example of the brutality of these guys. So he wipes out a whole town. There was an incident, and another thing that I didn't include in my book is there was 63 immigrants that were mutilated and just dumped in the middle of Monterrey. Right before I retired also. The Casino Royale burning. 66 people who went there to just have a good time died because this guy just wanted to send a message to somebody. So, I mean, you talk about body count. I mean, it's well over 1,000, I would say. Easy. There's no doubt.
You did a great job. You did a great job with the Casino Royale.
Yes, I was about to say
describing that part. You did an excellent job with that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And great. The way you really captured. I think I was in Iraq when that happened, and you're like, damn, this is just crazy. What's going on down there?
So when I wrote that chapter, I wanted the readers to see just how it went from one level to another really quick, and how it was just people that are innocent, that are going in there to just have a good time, you know, just escape from the world for a few hours, you know, and enjoy themselves at a casino and have a couple of drinks or maybe some dinner. And then it goes from this real peaceful environment to this inferno, you know, this fire where people can't get out because the entrance is blocked by this wall of fire. So I kind of wanted for people to see how these guys just go in and you know, put fear into people's hearts. I mean, it was just senseless. You know, to this day, I'm like, I just don't get it, man. You know, it happened, but I don't get it. You know, it was totally senseless, but it, you know, it is what it is, and I wanted to capture that moment and kind of show people the emotional side of what happened in there, rather than just, okay, yeah, this happened, they did it because of this or whatever. I wanted to capture the emotion of the people and what people felt, and that story, I wrote that story because one of my friends actually had an aunt that passed away in that fire. So what he told me is I didn't write that story, but I kind of based this chapter on what he told me, and developed the rest on my own, right? But it was a senseless act, another senseless act chopped up to this guy, man. You know, so I'm just really glad that he's here and he's gonna face justice.
And talking about the story, remember last time you came, I asked you if it was, you know, fiction or nonfiction. But you know what? Reading that story, I mean, reading about las dos señoras, the two ladies,
Yes.
how they went in before and after and during the event. You know what? If you guys get a chance, please buy this book. You can purchase it at the Book of Reign of Terror, only for $12.95. I mean, you don't get a great book like this. Bobby, you read it, what, in 24 hours?
24 hours, I can put it down.
And you
I
know
think that's
what?
the record, Bobby.
I think that's a record because I tried to read it in 24 hours and I go, Bobby didn't read it in 24 hours. It took me 48 hours, took me 2 days. But I'm telling you, I believe you, Bobby, but I'm telling you, you probably drank a lot of coffee. Hopefully that's all.
I was smoking crack and drinking coffee. I think that's what I was doing.
I'll tell you, I was going to say it, but I didn't want to say it. But you know what? It was one of those books that you literally pick it up and you can't put it down. I put it down to go to sleep, and it's one of those books. If you guys get a chance, please buy this book. You're not going to regret it. Only $12.95. You can order it right now on Amazon. It is one of the best books I have ever read. I guarantee you pick it up, you're not going to put it down. And I think Juan has bought it, and he can attest to that too.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. You know,
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into it. I wanted to capture the authenticity of the things that happened, and I didn't want to show just gore and the operations and killing and bullets and flying and this and that. I wanted to show a little bit of the personal side and the nice aspects of Mexico. You know, the food, the scenery. You know, the way that families could go and have a good time in a park in Monterrey or whatever, or a nice restaurant, and then to have these guys come in and ruin it. I wanted to capture that, you know, that essence. So, you know, that's one of the things I wanted to put into this book. I didn't want it to be just your run of the mill. Okay, so we did this operation, we caught the bad guy. You know, I want to show why was the bad guy there? What was he doing? What was it before he got there? You know, why was it such a nice place? And that's what I wanted to capture, and I wanted for people to feel that.
What follow-up?
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
Follow-up. What's up now? Los Zetas, Cartel del Noreste. When I left, they were like really in disarray. They were resorting to stealing gas. They were really hurting because they had been attacked not only with rivals, but they were one of the cartels that I think the Mexican government allowed to be targeted. And what's going on with them, that group forward right now? Are they even around? What can you tell us about them?
Well, it's my understanding that they are now called the Cartel del Norte or Noroeste or whatever. Yeah. And it's extremely fractured. It's extremely fractured. Nowhere near the power that they used to have. Right. Not them or the Gulf Cartel. The Gulf Cartel is extremely fractured also. I think there's 5 different fragments of the Gulf Cartel now, and they're all fighting each other. So really, I mean, I think they lost sight of what their goal was to make money, which is what Juan Garcia Abrego's goal was. You know, when he started out, you know, it's, hey, we're in this to make money. We're not in there to kill each other off. We want to make money. Right. You know, starting wars and doing all this bad for business. We're here to make money. And that was Garcia Abrego's objective and Ociel Cardenas. And it just evolved to this, you know. So they're extremely fractured. And and that just makes him less powerful. And what that does is gives an opportunity for a more powerful cartel to move in. So we'll wait and see what happens in the future with these developments.
Leo, that segues into my next question, talking about the future, where they land. Where are you with your book? Are you writing part 2 now?
It's not part 2. I'm really having a good time with this next book.
Okay.
It's a collection of a bunch of stories of my younger days in DEA when I was doing a lot of undercover work, and it's a collection of some of those I would say some comedic undercover deals that we did, just to give people an insight as to what we went through down here. Also, in those stories will be also a collection of some of the wild stories I heard when I was in Mexico, in Guadalajara and Monterrey. Some stories that are just, like I say, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And I will say this, I'm having a lot of fun with this book. Mm-hmm. Reign of Terror was hard for me to write because it was personal. It was very personal. Yeah. I'm not saying this book ain't personal, but Reign of Terror was extremely personal, especially the chapter about, Avila and Avila, our colleagues from Monterrey, the guards, the bodyguards of our consul general. So Reign of Terror was hard to write because of that. It was emotional. It was emotional for me because, I had to relive some of these experiences that we had. But this second book, I'm having fun with it because, and I hope that I can capture some of the nicer parts about Mexico, and just to show Mexico is not only, Mexico is a beautiful country. I loved it. It's just too bad that these guys come in there and ruin it for everybody else. But I'm really having a lot of fun with this book. I hope to finish it by July. That's just a tentative date.
Excellent.
And after I finish it, we still got to go through the editing process, and a lot of things have to happen. But personally, I want to finish it by July and hopefully have it on the market sometime afterwards.
Do we have a name for it yet?
I do, but I'm not going to reveal it right now.
You're not going to reveal it? Hey, but one thing, when it does come out,
on another show.
Yeah, when it does come out, you're definitely going to come out. Hopefully this will be the first show that you come and we'll talk about it and we could all buy it. But with that said, you know what? Can you show your cup once again? For those of you that want to purchase a cup, Leo's book coffee cup, can you show it to the camera real quick?
Okay, I have a coffee cup that is for sale at edgeweaver.com.
Yes.
This is something that we're working on getting also. So it'll be out there pretty soon. But for now, there is a coffee cup with the Reign of Terror logo on there that you can buy at edgeweaver.com. So this will be in the makes real soon, as well as some other items like as koozies and stuff like that, other merchandise that will be available. So
what about T-shirts? Are you gonna have T-shirts?
We're working on that, and hopefully we'll be able to make that available in the future.
How about,
just remember, XXX.
All right.
Hey, how about a Reign of Terror beer bong?
I never thought of that, man. That'd be fun.
That might be very, very for a bunch of narcos, old drug cops, a beer bong.
Yeah.
Hey, Leo,
you can produce them fast enough, man.
Yeah, you can't produce them fast enough for the cops. Hey, brother, mil gracias, man. Thank you very much. It was an honor to have you with us. Bobby, any last words for Leo?
No, just I really enjoyed the show. I mean, I thought, when that happened last week, I thought, got to get Leo. I reached out to Victor. I know Victor had a meeting he was going to be in. And if you see Victor's on Fox News just about every day right now, he's doing a lot of traveling. So maybe another time. But, whenever something big happens in Mexico, we'll reach out to you. You'll be one of our experts on what's going on, La Onda, what's going on down there in Mexico, because you spent a lot of time down there, and I know you're still connected. Guys, so thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me back, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, brother. And you know what? If you watch our show next week, I'm hopefully you're going to be watching it. I'm going to be using your cup. I'm going to order it right now as soon as we get off.
You got it. All right, man.
God bless you and be safe, brother. Night. Thank you. Mil gracias. Man, Bobby, what a show, huh?
That's good, man. I was really looking forward to having
I can't wait for his next book.
Right. And it was just, we'll see what happens with Mexico. Come on, we need some type of security down there, because who suffers? The regular people that are just trying to live a regular day, the business owners who are always having to pay that piso that they have to pay for the tax. So hopefully one day we'll have a semi-secure Mexico, because it would help all of us.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hey, brother, and I'm going to push, if you're ever in Chula Vista, in San Diego, in San Isidro, you want to try the best birria, I'd say in Southern California. I don't know about Arizona, but in Southern California, La Central Birriera, 1290 Hollister Street, without a doubt. Please go over there. A former cop, a retired San Diego Police Department Detective Sergeant Oscar Armenta is one of the owners. And just tell them that you're part of our show, and they're going to treat you, even though you don't have to say it, but they're going to treat you like gold. Outstanding. And next week, we got part 2 on the legacy of Detective Sergeant Richard Valdemar. I know, Bobby, you were on it last night. What did you think about his story on Vietnam, huh?
Man, as he was talking about a part you could see his eyes were welling up. It's painful to this day, I'm sure. It's all of us. When we think back of some of our friends that we lost, it's painful. It's still painful. And it was a great show. And us on Ash Wednesday, next Wednesday,
yes,
we're going to have retired Sergeant Major Juan Hidalgo Jr., a retired Sergeant Major for the United States Marine Corps. I'm looking forward to having him on. And I think he will have a very inspirational message for where he came from and where he finished. And he's still very actively involved in the community. So it'll be a great show with him next week.
And you know what, Bobby? He actually grew up in National City. He grew up in a barrio called OTNC, Old Town National City. And I mean, talking about growing up right there at Sweetwater High School in the barrio. And he became a major in the
retired sergeant major in the Marine Corps.
Wow. You know what? I can't wait to hear his story. It's going to be outstanding. Next week, we look forward. Bobby, any last words, my brother?
That's it. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And what a fun show. What a fun show. And, Leo's a friend, so it was nice having him on again.
Yeah. And you know what? Like you said, he's going to be our guy when anything that happens in Mexico. He'll be coming on. We look forward to it. With that said, like I always say, you know what? Live a purpose-driven life. Live every day like it's your last day on earth. And you know what? No matter what you're going through, trust the process. Everything in life has a process. No matter what you're going through, there's a process. And when you're basically tired and giving up on that process, trust on the author. And our author is Jesus Christ. And just remember that God loves you. I love that, brother, whoever comes on and he says God loves you. Hey, keep on saying that. You know what? That is beautiful. Sometimes and every day we need to be reminded that he loves us no matter who we are, sinners. God's grace is without a doubt definite. It goes on forever and ever. With that said, we'll see you next week. See you next Tuesday. We'll see you next Wednesday. God bless you.